Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Come on in. Get comfortable. Today, we're digging into something that, well, touches almost all of us. Impulsive spending. We're going to try and understand those hidden forces, the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. We've looked at some fascinating research, real-world stuff, to really unpack this.
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots between how our minds work and how we handle, or sometimes mishandle, our money.
And the goal isn't just to understand it, but to give you a really practical plan. A 30-day roadmap, actually, to start mastering those impulses. So impulsive spending, we all know it, right? That little nudge to click add to cart when you're just scrolling. Or that purchase you make, and later you're like, wait, how did that even happen?
It's universal.
And then comes that moment, maybe checking your bank statement, and you get that cold feeling, seeing how all those small, kind of mindless choices add up.
Oh, yeah. The guilt, the frustration, that feeling of, where did my money actually go?
Exactly. And it's not just the cash, is it? It's the stress, maybe a bit of shame for not sticking to the plan, feeling out of control when you really, really want to be smart about your finances. I remember talking to someone, let's call them Alex, super bright, ambitious, had big goals, travel, saving for a house, the future.
Right.
Alex had budgets, spreadsheets, the works, really good intentions. But then life happens. A flash sale pops up, a limited time offer you just have to check out.
The temptations are everywhere.
Totally. Or maybe a spontaneous dinner out that somehow turns into ordering half the menu because, hey, just this once.
The classic just this once, which happens again and again.
Precisely. And each time it feels small. I deserve it. It's just this one thing. But they snowball someday into this significant drain. Alex told me about checking their banking app one time, expecting a decent balance, and the number was just gut-wrenching. So much lower than expected.
That punch to the gut moment. Yeah.
And the weight wasn't from some huge single expense. It was the buildup of all those little impulse buys. It felt suffocating.
And it's crucial to understand, like with Alex, it's usually not about intelligence. It's not a lack of wanting to save.
Right. It felt like something deeper was going on, almost invisible, pulling the strings.
That's the psychology of money right there. And, this isn't exactly new, but certain historical shifts have really poured gasoline on the fire.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about credit cards. Before widespread credit, buying meant handing over actual cash. You felt the money leaving your hand. There was an immediate connection.
Okay, yeah. Tangible.
Credit cards completely decoupled that. The act of buying got separated from the act of paying. It created this time gap.
So the pain of payment feels distant, almost not real in the moment.
Exactly. It made it abstract. It was a massive game changer for impulsive behavior. Like a magic wand for getting what you want now, with the consequences, the bill arriving much, much later, often after the excitement's gone.
And then boom, the digital age arrives and just supercharges everything.
Oh, absolutely. It's our ancient brain wiring colliding with this hyper-modern convenience. A perfect storm, really.
So the friction is just gone.
Pretty much. The internet turned shopping from, an activity requiring effort, going to a store, browsing into the seamless instant gratification machine. One-click buying, safe payment details, algorithms predicting what you want before you even know.
Yeah, those algorithms are spooky sometimes.
They are. And the traditional barriers, the little moments where you might pause and reconsider, they've basically vanished.
Which leads to this scroll culture you mentioned.
Right. Social media platforms are designed meticulously to keep you hooked. Scrolling, and then seamlessly woven in are these perfectly targeted ads.
For things you might have glanced at once or even just thought about.
Exactly. Leveraging incredibly sophisticated tracking, so you're constantly exposed, constantly tempted. And our brains, still running on that ancient software, they see a potential gain, a new gadget, a quick fix, and that old reward system lights up.
So the hunt is just clicking a button.
And the feast is the package arriving at your door. Instant hit.
But it's not just the technology, is it? There's a cultural piece, too.
Oh, definitely. We're swimming in messages that basically equate spending with happiness or self-care.
Like treat yourself.
Treat yourself. You deserve it. Retail therapy. These phrases are baked into our culture. They normalize, even celebrate impulsive buying.
And then you see everyone else, influencers, friends, even random people online showing off their new stuff.
And that creates pressure, doesn't it? Subconsciously, you feel this pull to join in, to belong, maybe to signal status. That social comparison, amplified 1,000 times online, taps right into our deep-seated need for acceptance.
So putting it all together, the history, the tech, the culture.
Yeah.
It's a lot stacked against us.
It is, and that's why just telling yourself use more willpower often isn't enough. It's like telling someone to hold back a flood with their bare hands.
What's the key then?
Understanding. Awareness. Here's something really interesting. Some research shows that consumers who actually understand these cognitive biases tend to spend around 22% less on impulse buys.
Wow. Just knowing about them makes that much difference.
It can. It's not magic, but it helps you see the invisible wires. These biases, these mental shortcuts our brains use, they systematically twist how we see value, urgency, even necessity.
Okay, so that's what we're doing today, diving deep into these specific biases.
Exactly. We'll explain how they work, how they trip you up, and then lay out that practical 30-day plan to help you start mastering them. It's not just about cutting back, it's about making smarter choices, aligning your spending with your real goals.
Okay, so these invisible drivers, cognitive biases. Can you break that down a bit more? What are they, fundamentally?
Sure. Think of them as systematic patterns of thinking that deviate from pure logic or rationality. They're essentially mental shortcuts, heuristics.
Shortcuts, so they're not always bad.
Not at all. They evolved to help our ancestors make quick decisions in uncertain, often dangerous environments. Fast thinking for survival. But the problem is, in our modern world, especially the world of consumerism and finance, these same shortcuts can seriously mislead us.
How so?
Well, when you're shopping, online or in a store, your brain isn't always doing a careful, logical cost-benefit analysis for every single item. Often it's emotions, social cues, subconscious triggers taking the wheel. And that's where the biases kick in. They distort how you perceive an item's true value, how urgent you feel the need to buy it is, or even if you genuinely need it at all.
It sounds like our brains are kind of working on two different tracks simultaneously.
That's a great way to put it. Psychologists often talk about the brain operating on, let's call them multi-system lines. There is system one, fast, automatic, intuitive, emotional, largely subconscious.
That's the impulsive one.
Often, yes. Then there's system two. Slower, conscious, rational, deliberative. It does the heavy lifting of complex thought.
Okay, two systems.
But here's the catch. Most of our daily activity, especially our habits, runs on system one. Habits are like digging a groove in your brain. The more you do something, the deeper the groove, the more automatic it becomes, and the harder it is to change.
I like that groove analogy. So how do we manage this if system one is running the show most of the time?
There's a useful metaphor. Think of system one as a giant, powerful elephant, and system two as the small rider perched on top.
Okay, elephant and rider.
The elephant, system one, is incredibly strong, does most of the work, but it's easily swayed by immediate feelings, emotions, temptations. The rider, system two, holds the reins, theoretically in control, rational.
But the elephant is way bigger.
Way bigger. So for real change to happen, the rider can't just yank the reins. You have to understand and motivate the elephant. If the elephant decides it wants that shiny object, the rider has a tough fight on their hands.
So willpower alone isn't enough. You need to appeal to the elephant's motivations too.
Exactly. And remember, some of this is practically hardwired. It's like running old evolutionary software in a completely new environment it wasn't designed for. The core issue is that emotion often hijacks logic in financial decisions, thanks to these biases.
Which brings us back to the 30-day plan. How does understanding the elephant and rider help with that?
Because the plan isn't just about telling the rider to be stricter, it's about giving the rider tools and awareness to gently guide the elephant. It moves from just knowing about the biases to taking concrete actions. We saw this approach work in places like Reddit's 30-day challenge communities, where people set clear, measurable goals to cut spending. It's about making it actionable.
All right, let's dive into the plan. Days 1 to 3 focus on the anchoring bias. What is that and how do stores use it against us?
Okay, anchoring bias. It's our brain's tendency to latch on to the first piece of information it receives, the anchor, and use that as a reference point for all subsequent judgments.
So the first number we see really sticks.
It really does. Retailers are brilliant at this. You see it all the time. The high original price slashed out next to the lower sale price, like was $200, now only $99.
Right, makes the $99 look amazing.
Exactly. That $200, which might be inflated or not even the item's real market value, becomes your anchor. It instantly makes the $99 seem like a fantastic deal, a huge saving, even if you didn't need the item, or if $99 is still objectively expensive for what it is. Your perception of value gets warped right from the start.
That first number just frames everything else.
Your primitive brain, the elephant, sees that discount as a smart move, a win, instead of focusing on the actual $99 you're about to spend.
So thinking about Alex and those sale sneakers.
Yeah.
That was anchoring, making the discount seem too good to pass up. You can say ignore the anchor. But when you see that big 70% off sign, why, that's tough. How do you actually resist that pull in the moment? What's the mental move for days 1 to 3?
It is tough. So the key isn't just passive ignoring, it's active counter-anchoring. For days 1 to 3, make it a habit. Before you buy something based on a discount, actively research its true value.
How do you do that?
Look up prices for the same or similar items elsewhere. Check price history tools online if you can. See what comparable brands charge. What do similar used items sell for? Find a realistic price point. This gives your brain a new, better anchor to work with.
Okay, create your own anchor based on reality, not their marketing.
Exactly. And even better, decide on your price limit before you even start shopping for something specific. If you know you'll only spend $50 on a pair of jeans, seeing a pair marked down from $150 to $75 is less tempting. That pre-commitment helps your rider stay in control.
That makes sense. Pre-decide. Okay, days 4 to 6. Scarcity bias. This is the hurry end soon.
Yeah.
Scarcity bias is our tendency to perceive things as more valuable, more desirable, simply because they're limited in availability or time. It triggers a sense of urgency, FOMO, fear of missing out, and sometimes a feeling of exclusivity. And retailers push these buttons hard.
Constantly. Only 2 left in stock, limited edition, sale ends tonight. These phrases are designed to rush you into deciding now before your rational brain, your rider, can fully evaluate.
Like those booking websites showing how many people are looking at the same hotel room.
Classic example. That combines scarcity, few rooms left, with the social proof. 5 people are looking right now. It's a potent mix. And the data shows it works, even if we know it's a tactic. One survey found over half of people feel pressured by these messages.
And the regret afterwards.
Huge. Nearly 78% in that survey reported regretting a purchase made under scarcity pressure. Interestingly, over 80% knew marketers used these tricks, but they still fell for it. The elephant feels the urgency.
Wow. So for days 4 to 6, knowing it's often fake scarcity, how do we fight that urgent feeling?
You need to challenge it directly. Ask yourself, is this really scarce, or is the scarcity manufactured to make me buy quickly? 9 times out of 10, it's manufactured. Another batch will come in stock, another sale will happen.
So pause and question the premise.
Exactly. And a very practical step. Be ruthless about unsubscribing from marketing emails that constantly bombard you with limited time offers. They just feed the beast.
Good point. Cut off the source.
And here's your day 4 action step. Go into your phone settings right now and turn off push notifications for all your shopping apps. Seriously, get rid of those little alerts tempting you. Maybe even replace them with reminders of your savings goals. Removing the constant stimulus helps the rider regain focus.
Out of sight, out of mind. I like it. Okay, days 7 to 9. The bandwagon effect, or social proof. We want to fit in, right? How does that mess with our wallets?
Deeply. The bandwagon effect is our tendency to adopt certain behaviors or beliefs simply because many other people are doing the same. It stems from our fundamental need to belong, to feel validated by the group.
So if everyone seems to be buying something,
you feel a pull to do it too. You might question your own judgment if you don't. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok amplify this massively. You see influencers, friends, seemingly everyone raving about a product or lifestyle.
Like that skincare set example. You see someone you follow loving it.
And suddenly you feel you need it too, even if your current routine is fine. It's that feeling of, if it's popular, it must be good, or I don't want to be left out. Marketing messages like, join over 1 million satisfied customers, or trending now, tap directly into this.
It's powerful stuff. That pressure to conform, digitally amplified. So for days 79, how do we resist jumping on the bandwagon?
First, become a conscious curator of your digital environment. Unfollow accounts that constantly push products, trigger comparison, or make you feel like you're not keeping up. Protect your mental space.
Be intentional about your feed.
Very intentional. Second, ask the critical question. Am I buying this because I genuinely need or want it for me, or because I'm seeing others with it and feeling pressure? Be honest with yourself.
That requires some self-awareness.
It does. And to help cultivate that, try this for days 7 to 9. Start a Why I Want This journal. Before buying something non-essential, especially if you suspect social proof is involved, write down your real reasons. This forces a pause, engages your writer system too, and helps you distinguish genuine desire from social contagion.
I like that, a moment of reflection. Okay, next up, days 10-12. Present bias, or hyperbolic discounting. This feels like a big one for saving versus spending.
It's huge. Present bias describes our tendency to strongly prefer smaller rewards that we can get now over larger rewards that we have to wait for. Our future self feels distant, less real than our present self.
So we discount the future value.
Heavily. It leads to what economists call time-inconsistent preferences. We know saving for retirement is important, but the immediate pleasure of buying something today often wins out. It's tied to dopamine. That immediate gratification gives a quicker, stronger reward signal in the brain.
And buy now, pay later services feed right into this.
Perfectly. They offer the instant gratification of getting the item now, while pushing the less pleasant part paying into the future. Instant cash back, loyalty points you can spend immediately. They all leverage present bias.
Like Alex's just this once moments? The immediate enjoyment outweighed the future budget impact in that split second.
Exactly. Or think about buying that expensive coffee when you're tired. You know you should save the $5, but the immediate reward of the caffeine and taste feels more compelling than the abstract goal of saving. We overvalue the present desire. It also fuels procrastination on important long-term things.
It's fighting our own brain's desire for that quick hit. So days 10-12, how do we strengthen our connection to our future self and resist the immediate lure?
A really effective technique is the 24-hour rule. Simple but powerful. For any non-essential purchase over a certain threshold, maybe $20, maybe $50, you decide commit to waiting 24 hours before buying.
Put it in the cart, then walk away.
Exactly. Put it in the online cart, take a photo in the store, whatever, then sleep on it. This enforced delay interrupts the immediate gratification loop. It gives your rational writer time to catch up, evaluate properly. You'll be amazed how often the urge just vanishes after a day.
Create a cooling off period.
Yes. Another strategy is to actively visualize your future self and your long-term goals. Make them feel more real, more emotionally resonant. Picture what achieving that goal feels like, the relief of being debt-free, the excitement of that trip, the security of a down payment. Connect emotionally with the delayed reward.
Make the future more appealing than the present impulse. What about making saving the easier option?
Crucial. Automate your savings. This is you, the writer, strategically setting things up so the elephant doesn't even get tempted. Arrange for automatic transfers from your checking to your savings or investment accounts right after payday.
Pay yourself first, automatically.
Right. The money is moved before you have a chance to spend it impulsively. It bypasses the need for constant willpower. It leverages inertia for good. This is a cornerstone strategy recommended by behavioral experts and consistently highlighted in those successful Reddit challenges. Make saving the default.
Excellent. Okay. Days 13-15, the sunk cost fallacy. This one feels sticky. It's about stuff we've already spent money on.
It is sticky. The sunk cost fallacy is our tendency to keep investing time, money, or effort into something because we've already invested in it, even if rationally it no longer makes sense to continue. We feel we need to justify the past investment.
Like holding onto that unused gym membership because you've already paid so much.
Yeah.
Or keep fixing an old car that's costing a fortune.
Exactly. Or buying more accessories for a gadget you regret buying in the first place. We irrationally think continuing will somehow recoup the initial loss, when often it just leads to more loss.
Can you give a concrete example?
Sure. Imagine you bought expensive, non-refundable concert tickets months ago. Now the concert date is here, but you're sick or tired or just not interested anymore. The sunk cost fallacy might push you to go anyway. I paid for these tickets. Even though going means spending more money on transport, maybe food, and enduring an experience you won't enjoy, just to feel like you didn't waste the initial ticket cost.
Right. Throwing good money after bad to justify the bad money. So for days 13-15, how do we untangle ourselves from past decisions?
The mental shift is to focus only on the future. Ask yourself, based on where I am now, does continuing this course of action or making this related purchase provide genuine future value or benefit, regardless of what I've already spent?
Ignore the past investment entirely.
As much as possible when making the forward-looking decision. Practice the discipline of cutting your losses. Acknowledge that the past investment is gone. It's sunk whether you continue or not. Don't let ego or the desire to justify past choices lead you deeper down a losing path. Focus on the marginal costs and benefits from this point forward.
That takes some mental toughness. Okay, days 16-18, availability heuristic. This sounds like it's all about what's top of mind.
It is. The availability heuristic is our mental shortcut of making decisions based on information that comes to mind most easily, most vividly, or most recently, rather than basing it on the most comprehensive or statistically relevant data. If you can recall it easily, you tend to overestimate its importance or likelihood.
So if I just saw a really cool ad for a trip, or my friend won't stop talking about their new phone, that idea becomes available and I suddenly want it more.
Precisely. That recent exposure makes the idea highly available and salient in your mind. It feels more relevant, more desirable, just because it's fresh and vivid. You might start wanting that trip or phone, not because of a pre-existing need, but simply because the idea is buzzing around in your head thanks to that recent, easily recalled information.
Like impulsively booking that Bali trip after seeing an amazing travel vlog.
Perfect example. The vlog makes the experience seem so vivid, so attainable right now, that the desire overrides careful planning or budget considerations. The easily available, exciting image bypasses the more complex, less available thoughts about long-term financial impact.
This feels like a direct consequence of our information-saturated world. For days 16 to 18, how do we guard against what just happens to be floating around in our awareness?
A key defense is managing your information intake. Limit exposure to advertising and overly aspirational content where possible. Curate your social media feeds more carefully. Consider using ad blockers. Less exposure means fewer random desires getting lodged in your short-term memory.
Be mindful of the inputs.
Yes, and practice mindfulness in the moment. When a strong desire pops up seemingly out of nowhere, pause. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Was it a genuine need evolving over time, or was it triggered by something I just saw, read, or heard? Recognizing the trigger can often deflate the impulse.
And then connect back to goals.
Critically, actively replace the tempting, available thought with a reminder of your own long-term financial goals. So when the Bali trip idea surfaces, consciously counter it. That looks nice, but saving for the house deposit is my priority right now. As your action step for day 16, install an ad blocker if you haven't already, and take 20 minutes to write down or review your top 3 financial goals. Keep them visible. This makes your priorities more available.
Great practical steps. Okay, days 19-21. Framing effect and the related pseudo-certainty effect. This is about how information is presented, right?
Exactly. The framing effect shows that how information is presented the frame can dramatically alter our choices, even if the underlying facts are identical. The pseudo-certainty effect is related. It means we tend to overweight outcomes that are framed as certain, even if that certainty is illusory or applies only to a narrow part of the picture.
Like the coffee example again. $5 a day sounds manageable, but $1,825 a year sounds alarming. Same cost, different frame.
Precisely. Retailers and marketers are masters of framing. They'll frame costs in the smallest possible units per day, per month, to make large expenses seem trivial. Only $39 a month. For a gym sounds much better than $468 a year.
Even though it's the exact same amount.
Right. They frame spending positively to downplay the cost. They might also frame warranties as guaranteed protection, tapping into pseudo-certainty. You feel you're buying certainty against future problems, even if the actual probability of needing the warranty is low and the cost might not be worth it. Cashback rewards framed as guaranteed wins work similarly.
It's all about perspective manipulation. So for days 19-21, how do we break the frame or see through it?
You have to actively reframe it yourself. Take that monthly cost and multiply it out. What's the annual cost? What's the cost over 5 years? Seeing the larger number provides a more realistic perspective.
Force yourself to see the big picture cost.
Yes. Also, use the cost per use rule we touched on. Estimate how many times you'll actually use something and divide the total cost by that number. Is that $500 fancy blender really worth it if you only make smoothies once a month? Compare that to a $50 one.
Grounded in realistic usage.
And practice reverse framing. When considering an expense, ask yourself, what else could I achieve with this money if I didn't spend it here? Connect it back to your goals. For your day 19 action step, pick one recurring expense, calculate its annual cost. Then write down 3 other things you'd rather do with that money that align with your bigger financial picture.
Shifting the focus to opportunity cost makes sense. Now for days 22-27, we're tackling 2 biases. Brand loyalty bias and the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's start with brand loyalty.
Brand loyalty bias is pretty straightforward. It's our preference for brands we know, trust, or perceive as premium, often leading us to choose them even when cheaper, functionally equivalent alternatives exist. We develop an emotional connection that can override rational price or feature comparison.
So, paying $300 for the big-name smartwatch when a $100 version does basically the same thing. That's paying for the logo.
Essentially, yes. You're paying a premium for the brand's image, perceived status, or maybe just familiarity rather than just the utility of the product itself.
How do we fight that ingrained loyalty for days 22, 27?
You need to consciously decouple the brand image from the product's actual function. When comparing, focus only on the specs, the features, the materials, and the price. Ignore the logos for a moment. Ask yourself this critical question. If this exact product had a generic no-name label on it, would I still buy it at this price? That forces an objective evaluation.
Strip away the marketing gloss. Okay, and the Dunning-Kruger effect, how does that relate to spending?
Dunning-Kruger is fascinating. It's a cognitive bias where people with low ability or knowledge in a specific area tend to overestimate their ability or knowledge. Conversely, highly competent people might underestimate theirs. In spending, this often shows up as overconfidence.
Overconfidence in what?
In our own abilities or knowledge related to a purchase. Someone might think, I can totally learn advanced graphic design in a month, and then splurge on expensive professional software they can't yet use effectively. Or buying that $500 chef's knife, believing it will magically transform their cooking skills overnight.
So we overestimate how much a product will improve our performance, ignoring the skill gap.
Exactly. Novices often underestimate the learning curve for complex skills. Marketers sometimes play on this, suggesting their product is the key to instant expertise. It also relates to overconfidence in financial markets, thinking you can easily beat the market with limited knowledge, leading to risky investments or excessive trading. It creates an illusion of control.
That's a tricky one because it involves assessing our own competence honestly. How do we combat this for days 22, 27?
Humility and research are key. Before investing heavily in tools or courses for a new skill, seek out realistic information. Talk to experts, read reviews from people at different skill levels, understand the actual learning curve. Acknowledge the role of practice, effort, and sometimes just luck, especially in investing.
Temper the enthusiasm with realism.
Yes, and use that value versus cost test again. Does this item provide genuine value given my current skill level and realistic potential for improvement, or am I buying into an aspirational fantasy? For your day 25 action step, pick one item you own that you suspect might be overpriced due to brand or perceived status. Research and find a cheaper, functionally equivalent alternative. This helps you practice objective comparison.
Good exercise. Finally, days 28, 30, rounding out the challenge. Confirmation bias. This feels like it locks us into bad decisions once we start wanting something.
It really does. Confirmation bias is our powerful tendency to actively seek out, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms our pre-existing beliefs or desires while actively avoiding or dismissing information that contradicts them.
So our brain becomes a yes man for our desires.
Pretty much. Once you want that new phone, you'll instinctively click on the positive reviews, skim past the negative ones. If you want to justify buying an expensive handbag, you'll find articles calling it an investment and ignore data showing luxury goods often depreciate quickly.
You build a case to support the impulse.
Exactly. You construct a reality that fits your desire, making objective assessment incredibly difficult once that initial want takes hold. Your elephant has already decided, and it's telling the writer to find evidence to back it up. This is why rationalizing purchases after the desire is already strong is so common and so dangerous financially.
It's a self-reinforcing trap. How do we break out for days 28, 30 and make genuinely informed choices?
The single most effective strategy is to actively, deliberately seek out disconfirming evidence. Force yourself to look for the downsides.
Play devil's advocate against yourself.
Precisely. Don't just search for best reviews for product X. Search for problems with product X, reasons not to buy product X, alternatives to product X. Read the one-star reviews. Understand the potential drawbacks.
Counterbalance the inherent bias.
Yes. Another tool is the classic pros and cons list, but with a crucial rule. Give equal attention and weight to both sides. Don't mentally inflate the pros and minimize the cons just because you want the item. This forces a more balanced perspective, giving your rider the objective data it needs. For your day 28 action step, pick something you're currently considering buying. Spend 15 minutes actively searching only for negative reviews or reasons not to buy it. Then, create that balanced pros and cons list.
Okay, we've mapped out the biases, the mental traps, and the 30-day plan to start building defenses. That's the theory. But how does this stuff actually play out? Let's talk about real people making real changes.
Absolutely, because that's where it gets really encouraging. Seeing how others tackled this in practice. Those Reddit 30-day challenge communities provide fantastic examples. The key thing they did was set a specific, measurable monetary goal for reducing spending in targeted areas.
Not just spend less, but cut my restaurant spending by $150 this month.
Exactly. That clarity is vital for motivating the elephant. It makes the goal concrete.
So what were some common battlegrounds where people found success?
Eating out and fast food was a huge one. We saw stories like the user cutting their habit from around $180 a month down to just $68 by using cash envelopes and tracking weekly. Another person looked at their bank statement, realized they were spending $650 a month eating out, and had that damn near shirt myself moment of clarity.
That wake-up call moment.
It really is. Setting a strict budget, like $100 for fast food, or planning simple meal preps like another couple did to cut $150 off their restaurant bill, these small, focused actions made a big difference.
It shows how quickly those daily conveniences add up. What about the daily coffee or energy drink fix?
Another classic leak in the budget. One student called it the habit that was killing me. We saw people cutting back from $150 a month to $20 or even $10 a day down to $0. And remember that student who bought the $1,000 espresso machine?
Yeah, sounded expensive up front.
But they calculated it saved them $4,000 over 4 years compared to buying lattes out. It's about recognizing the cumulative cost, which helps the writer convince the elephant that the long-term saving is worth sacrificing the immediate convenience.
That long-term framing again. What about transportation? Especially with ride-sharing being so easy now.
A big, often hidden expense. One user found they'd spent nearly $500 on Lyft in a single month. That shock led them to seriously evaluate options like buying a cheap used car versus just walking more. But then others pointed out the total cost of car ownership, gas, insurance, maintenance, tolls can easily hit $350, $450 a month, even for a paid-off car. Especially in spread-out cities with limited public transport, it's a complex calculation.
It's easy to just see the car payment, not all the other stuff. And groceries and food waste.
Yeah.
Lots of potential for impulse buys there.
Definitely. People shared really practical tips. Scrap dinners to use leftovers, freezing produce before it goes bad, meticulous meal planning on paper, inventorying the pantry before shopping. A big one was using grocery pickup. Ordering online avoids all those in-store temptations designed to trigger impulse buys. One person used YNA budgeting software, so if they overspent on eating out, the money had to come directly from their grocery budget, a very direct feedback mechanism.
Making the trade-off explicit.
Yeah.
Smart. And those sneaky subscriptions and services.
Oh yeah, death by 1,000 cuts sometimes. People found real savings by auditing these, switching internet providers to save $35 a month, moving to cheaper cell plans like Mint Mobile, saving over $100 a month, canceling streaming services they didn't use much, gym memberships, even niche apps like Weight Watchers if they weren't actively using them. Each one might be small, but canceling 5 or 6 adds up fast.
It forces you to evaluate the actual value you're getting. What about clothing and shopping impulses?
A major trigger for many. Strategies included setting very strict allowances, like $60 only for thrift stores, selling unworn clothes online to recoup some cash. One person talked about feeling pressure to buy expensive work clothes to fit in with wealthy clients, spending $300, $400 monthly, but they committed to a zero-spend month to break the cycle and redirect the money to loans. It highlights tackling both the habit and the underlying social pressure.
That connection to deeper issues is important, especially when we talk about alcohol and addictions.
This is where spending habits can signal much deeper struggles. One student shared cutting alcohol spending dramatically while also seeking therapy, recognizing the link between their spending, coping mechanisms, and depression. It's a reminder that compulsive buying or shopping addiction is a real condition with serious consequences: debt, relationship problems, emotional distress. Financial stress itself is linked to severe mental health issues. Sometimes the spending isn't just impulsive, it's a symptom requiring professional support, not just budgeting tips.
A very important point. And beyond those big categories, people tackled other impulse buys too.
Yes. Things like video games. One user stopped buying games impulsively, like Borderlands 3. Or spontaneous trips like Vegas. A clever tactic some used was, whenever they resisted an impulse buy, they'd immediately transfer the money they would have spent into a separate, hard-to-access savings account, turning the avoided impulse directly into a savings win. Even things like online raffles were cut back. It's about identifying your specific triggers and redirecting that energy.
So, looking across all these real-life examples, what were the common tools or strategies that really seemed to work?
Several things stood out. Financial tracking apps like Mint or YNB were popular for providing clarity. Seeing where the money was actually going was often the necessary shock to the system. For tactile control, physical cash envelopes for specific categories like groceries or entertainment worked well for many. Handing over cash feels different.
Makes the spending more real.
Exactly. Automation was huge, automating savings transfers, automating bill payments, taking willpower out of the equation as much as possible. And people used various resources, from Dave Ramsey's budgeting methods to simple Excel sheets to free library apps like Libby for accessing personal finance books without spending more money.
It really brings that elephant and rider idea home. These people weren't just relying on the rider's willpower. They were finding clever ways to understand, redirect, and motivate the elephant. Their habitual, emotional side, using awareness, practical tools, and clear goals. They were guiding the elephant, not just fighting it. Okay, so 30 days can definitely kickstart change, build awareness, maybe break some initial bad habits. But the big question is sustainability. How do we make these changes stick for the long haul, so we don't just slide back into those old, comfy spending grooves?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because change is hard. Our brains are fundamentally wired to conserve energy. Habits, once formed, run on autopilot, saving cognitive effort. That groove we talked about gets deep. It's the path of least resistance.
And we're fighting that evolutionary programming.
In a way, yes. We're running that old software in a new environment. Our brains evolved with certain tendencies like loss aversion or confirmation bias that might have served us well in the past. But the modern consumer world exploits them relentlessly. Our environment changed faster than our brains did.
So just white-knuckling it with willpower isn't the sustainable path. It sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting and often ineffective long-term. Willpower is a finite resource. Research actually suggests that people who seem to have great self-control aren't necessarily better at resisting temptation moment to moment. They're often better at avoiding temptation in the first place.
So structuring their lives to minimize the battles.
Exactly. This leads to the power of pre-commitment. It's about making choices now that constrain your future self, reducing the need for self-control later. It's deciding not to walk down the snack aisle at the grocery store so you don't have to resist the cookies later at home.
Remove the temptation before it arises.
Precisely. Studies have even shown people are willing to pay a premium to avoid facing a temptation, suggesting we intuitively understand the cost of exerting self-control. Experienced dieters, interestingly, paid less to avoid temptation because they'd already developed better resistance strategies. Pre-commitment is you, the rider, setting up the environment so the elephant doesn't even see the tempting thing.
That's a really powerful shift in thinking. Instead of just relying on resistance, focus on avoidance and structure. How can we apply pre-commitment practically to financial goals?
A great tool for planning and embedding pre-commitment strategies is the WOBE method. It stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan.
WOBE. Okay, break that down.
Sure. First, wish. What's the specific goal? A.g., I wish to cut my impulsive online shopping by $200 a month. Then, outcome. What's the best possible result if you achieve your wish? Visualize it. A.g., the outcome is feeling less stressed about money and having an extra $200 for my triangle fund.
Okay, wish and outcome. Then O.
Obstacle. What's the main internal obstacle that could get in your way? Be honest. For example, my obstacle is feeling bored or stressed in the evenings, which triggers scrolling shopping sites. And finally, plan. Create an if-then plan to deal with that specific obstacle. E.g., if I feel bored or stressed in the evening, then I will immediately close shopping apps and read a book or call a friend instead.
So it forces you to anticipate the specific triggers and have a pre-planned response.
Exactly. It basically pre-commits you to a better course of action when the trigger hits. It automates the response, taking the need for in-the-moment willpower down significantly. It helps the rider prepare for the elephant's predictable patterns.
That sounds very practical. And tying this back to habits, how can we use something like Charles Duhigg's habit loop to build good financial habits that replace the bad ones?
The habit loop is a great model. It has 3 parts. Cue, the trigger for the habit, routine, the behavior itself, and reward, the benefit you get to break a bad habit like impulsive spending. 1. Identify your cues. Figure out what triggers the urge. Keep a log for a few days. Is it a specific time, payday, place, passing a certain store, emotion, stress, boredom, or social situation? 2. Substitute the routine. Once you know the cue, find a different, healthier routine that addresses the underlying need the old habit was fulfilling. If the cue is stress and the routine is online shopping, maybe substitute stretching, deep breathing, or listening to music. 3. Reward yourself differently. The new routine needs to provide some kind of reward to stick. Maybe the reward is the feeling of relief after stretching, the pride of sticking to your plan, or watching your savings account grow. Reinforce the new positive behavior.
So identify the trigger, swap the action, find a healthy reward. What about building new good habits from scratch?
Similar principles apply, but with a focus on reinforcement. First, track your progress. Use those apps like Mint or even just a spreadsheet. Seeing progress, your savings growing, your debt shrinking is incredibly motivating. It rewards the elephant directly. Second, create a strong why. Why are you doing this? Connect your financial goals to something deeply meaningful to you. Freedom, security, experiences, helping family. That why fuels motivation when things get tough.
Keeps the rider focused on the destination. What else helps build those positive grooves?
Set SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Save $5,000 for a down payment in 2 years is much more powerful than save more money. Clarity directs action. Fourth, automate everything you can. Savings transfers, bill payments, retirement contributions. Make the default action the right action. Fifth, regularly review and adjust. Life changes, income changes, goals change. Your budget and plan need to be living documents, not set-in-stone relics.
And managing debt and investing.
Absolutely crucial for long-term wellness. Manage debt. Prioritize high-interest debt aggressively. Consider consolidation if it makes sense. Make payments on time, every time. Keep credit utilization low. Check your credit report regularly. And invest for your future. Contribute consistently to retirement accounts, 401k, IRA, especially taking advantage of any employer match that's free money. Diversify your investments appropriately for your age and risk tolerance. Use tax advantage accounts wisely. It's about consistent, patient action over time, guiding the elephant towards long-term security.
It all sounds incredibly powerful when you lay it out, but going back to something you mentioned earlier, does simply knowing about biases, the stuff we've talked about today, actually change behavior? Or is it just interesting information?
That's a fair question, and the evidence suggests awareness does help. Remember that Consumer Federation of America survey. Consumers who understood biases spent 22% less on impulse buys. That's not trivial.
Just from understanding the concepts?
It seems so. And another study by the National Foundation for Credit Counseling found people who went through financial education programs were 40% more likely to feel confident about making informed buying decisions. Education empowers the writer. It provides the tools for critical thinking, for pausing before purchasing, for seeking out different perspectives, like looking for those negative reviews we discussed. It's not a magic bullet, but awareness absolutely shifts the playing field. It helps you recognize when your elephant is being led astray.
So it's not about achieving perfection overnight, but about making steady progress, fueled by understanding.
Exactly. Focus on progress over perfection. Celebrate the small wins, sticking to your budget for a week, resisting one impulse buy, automating a savings transfer. Those small victories build momentum and reinforce the new habits for the elephant. Find an accountability partner, join a supportive community online or offline. And if things feel overwhelming, consider talking to a qualified, fee-only financial advisor for personalized guidance. Financial wellness is a journey, a continuous process. Be patient and consistent.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really feels like mastering spending isn't just about deprivation or rigid rules. It's actually about gaining freedom.
That's a great way to put it.
The freedom to live more intentionally, to dial down the financial stress that weighs so many of us down, and ultimately, the freedom to actually achieve those big, important dreams. It's about building a financial life that truly serves you, that you genuinely deserve. So now, we really want to hear from you. Head down to the comments section wherever you're listening to this deep dive and share with us which specific financial habit, maybe one fueled by these biases we talked about, are you most determined to change and why? What does real financial freedom look like for you personally? Share your stories, your challenges, maybe even your small wins already. Let's learn from each other in this space. Remember, you are definitely not alone on this journey. We want this show to be a place where we can all improve our relationship with money together, starting with awareness, building through learning, and always with empathy. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring these ideas, keep learning, and keep building that financial life you truly deserve.